But USAID is in many ways, I mean, we've all known about the waste, the $5,000 toilet seats at the Pentagon. But what we don't know is what the AID has been doing. Not only is their overhead about 90%, nobody would invest in a charity that had 90% overhead because they spend money on contractors and subcontractors and so forth. But very often they're telling the countries that they're giving aid to do the wrong things, to do socialist policies that run completely counter. Plus, there's the whole question of corruption, whether certain people are getting rich off of all this, not only in other countries, but in our countries as well. So you've got all these elements. I really think there is a fundamental recognition of the waste and fraud in our government that we've never had in this country before.
The one area of government that Americans of both parties and all movements oppose is foreign aid. And you know why? Because the American people are smart and they understand that foreign policy doesn't, foreign aid doesn't work. Let me give you an example. What is the name of that organization? The Agency for International Development. Show me where they've brought international development, David. None. I mean, there is no evidence whatsoever after spending hundreds of billions of dollars that they're actually causing economic growth. Now, here's the Steve Moore strategy. Let's get rid of all the USAID and then put on all our military planes and stuff copies of Milton Friedman's Capitalism and Freedom and fly them over these places like Africa and dump them out, because you and I and everybody listening to the show knows and watching the show knows that it's free markets and free enterprise, not government programs that cause growth.
Well, and by the way, sometimes they're actually supporting socialist policies in these countries that they go into, whether it was working with the Sandinistas in Nicaragua. Go ahead.
Yeah. Let me give you an example of how pernicious it is. For the big issue for many of these little villages in Africa and so on is they don't have access to basic electricity. You can't grow if you don't have electricity. Well, these left-wing advocates go into these places with U.S. money and say, oh, don't build a coal plant, don't build a gas plant, you need windmills or something like that. I mean, it's just crazy.
It really
is. It's so terrible. It's actually impeding development.
Steve, I got to stick to the subject that I think we care most about is getting those tax cuts extended. And the extraordinary thing, we were hearing from Axios and other news sources that the CBO has found out that it would cost $4.7 trillion to extend the tax cuts. That same CBO, by the way, the same CBO reports that since 2017, since the first Trump tax cuts were put in, we have collected $1.5 trillion more dollars than we had before. So they're saying that extending those tax cuts, which have provided us with 48% increase in tax revenue, would cost. How is that possible that you can use the word cost with regard to the tax rate cuts that have brought in so much revenue?
You know, David, your numbers are precisely right. You're exactly right that, in fact, over the first 6 or 7 years of that tax cut, we got more revenues in than they thought even if we hadn't done the tax cut. So we surpassed the revenues. Here's our big problem and challenge in getting that done. We have too many Republicans, not Democrats. Republicans are saying you have to pay for the tax cut. What does that mean? We don't have to pay for it. It pays for itself. It did pay for itself. And why would you continue to use numbers that we know are wrong? The same people who got it wrong.
Let me just stop you right there, Steve. What is the answer to that? Why do they keep using numbers that are dead wrong and that defeat what Donald Trump wants?
Great question, because you know what? These come from the Congressional Budget Office. Who runs that? Congress, the House and the Senate. David, who runs the House and the Senate? The Republicans do. So why don't they put somebody in there that is an honest scorer that will do it right? Because CBO, you and I have fought this for 30 years. They always get the numbers wrong.
Yeah. Well, when they're reporting what happened, the numbers are right. And the numbers show that the tax rates, when the tax rates go down, there's more economic activity, more people paying taxes, and revenues go up. It happened all the time in U.S. history. But unfortunately, David, some people are slow learners. We're
going to get this. We're going to get it done. I'm going to give you guys a guarantee. We are going to get this done this year, but it's like pulling teeth right now.
All right. Steve Moore, best of luck to you.